everybody, and welcome to another episode of Shift Happens. I didn't do one last week, was busy. Didn't know if I was going to get one done this week, but here I am. So this week we're going to talk about how humor is healing. I had a counselor say, do you hide behind the humor? Now, I know that some people maybe do that. But it's like, no, I said, humor is a healing tool. I said, do you want me to cry all the time? Yeah, no. And I looked it up, and humor is crazy healing. Oh, my God. And I don't know if I shared this story on Shift Happens, but I know I have. I shared it in my first book, and I might have shared it in one of the other episodes. But I saw the power of healing at 11 years old. I got picked on, and not to mention my childhood was traumatic. And all kinds of abuse, the trifecta of abuse. And I was just tired of crying. I just was tired of it. I wanted to laugh more. So I decided that I was going to start see the funny things in life and just be funny. And so I was getting picked on again. But it wasn't funny enough. It wasn't the main bully. She actually stuck up for me and said, leave her alone. She's funny. And boy, that was an epiphany for me to see the power of humor. Now, I made some notes because I was trying to get on my laptop and that didn't work and blah, blah, blah. But I mean, humor releases stress, reduces stress. You can't worry and laugh at the same time. I had seen a psychologist who became a comedian in Sarasota, Florida at McCurdy's, and he said that you cannot worry and laugh at the same time. And Martin thought that was very profound. And it is. It also boosts your immunity. It supports heart health function and releases the good endorphins, and you get that high like you do with the runner's high. And it also helps lower blood pressure. I had a stroke because of blood pressure. But, carry on. I should have had probably a stroke years earlier. But humor held it off. It lifts the mood. It relieves tension, shifts perspective, and builds resistance. And then the social connection, the bond groups like at Chicken Box, Bennigan's, I mean, we all have a bond there. We're comedians. We make fun of each other all the time. But we have this bond and we support each other, whether you're from Belfast or Derry, East Coast, West Coast, whatever. But we support each other. And it also diffuses conflict, helps break the ice. So I bring up these things, I keep talking about my past experience with my husband and son because those were major things in my life, and these things that I talk about is what helped me get through. With my stroke, my friend had this shirt made. I can't feel my face it's a stroke, you're having a stroke. It's all good. And on the back it says, I had a stroke and all I got was this stupid t-shirt. The guy who made it for her said, what is wrong with you? She just had a stroke. She goes, no, she's going to love it. And I did. Because to me, laughter is my go-to to help deal with stressful situations. I mean, yes, you cry at some point and that's a great release as well. But I think, to see the power in the healing with humor, and it's amazing. When we were in the hospital with Andrew, in the parents' room, they had all comedies, because that helps you deal with the traumatic and the stress and all that. So I feel like now I've been a comedian 23 years, I'm helping heal people by making them laugh. When my niece calls me and she's all upset and carrying on, and she goes, damn it, you always make me feel better. You always have me laughing. Because it helps diffuse all that. So think about that, humor is definitely very healing. And it's a fantastic tool to use physically, emotionally, and, socially. So that was my message for this week. Humor is healing. And that is how you make shift happen. Go figure, huh? So, try to start your day off with a bit of laughter and you'll see how the rest of the day goes. And even if there's stress, you got to find the funny. You just got to find the funny. We did it with my son. I mean, we were laughing in the room with his body because my husband could hear him. And then the next day, I had his friends that was devastated and crying, and I was consoling them because it was literally the next day after our son passed. And we were all sitting there, and I shared a story that had happened in the room, and we laughed so hard we cried. We had tears. You know, I had everybody laughing. And my son's service, too. There was so much laughter. My son started his eulogy, as I say in my comedy act, well, he wrote his eulogy, well, not really because he had no hands, but he told my husband what he wanted his eulogy to be. And he started it with, I'm not going to have my parents talk about how great I am. I already know that. And he set the tone, and there was all this laughter at my son's service, and it was such a traumatic time, and there was so much love, you know, and everybody, his friends, his one friend said, is it okay to say I had a really good time at Andrew's service? I said, yes, that's what we wanted. We wanted people to feel better leaving than when they got there, and they did. And my daughter's friends even said, I will never forget this day. It touched me profoundly, you know, because we had the humor, we had the love, and, you know, made shift happen. So I'll leave it here. And as my son, I didn't do it the last time. Live your life with no regrets and die laughing.